Do you ever feel like fear is running your life as a mom? Do you feel like fear is doing everything? You want to make a decision, you're scared, you made a mistake, you're scared of trying again? Now, what if I told you that you could do something about this fear? With just one mindset shift, you can turn from being a fearful mom to that fearless leader that God has called you to be. Because indeed, you are a masterpiece and you're also a work in progress. Are you that mom that always reacts emotionally to the mistakes of your children? You're not alone. Are you that mom that reacts emotionally to the tantrums of your children? Your children are throwing tantrums and you're just all over the place. You're so scared. You don't know how to handle it. You even escalate issues because of your fears. I'm here to tell you that something can be done. Do you have over-controlling routines? And are your decisions because of fear? Do you make decisions based on fear, based on your fears, based on your failures? Do you keep on asking yourself, what if it doesn't work out? Are you that person that has this mindset of always putting fear in front of everything you do as a mom? Do you feel powerless and constantly anxious over the choices of your children? Are you anxious when your children are deciding on something? Are you anxious when your children want to try out something? Are you at ease or you're tensed? Are you that mom that believes that fear is protective? And do you feel like fear is necessary for you to be a good parent? Do you feel like fear is a way of you protecting yourself or protecting your children? I'm here to tell you, you can learn to do something differently. Do you feel disconnected from your own authority? And do you lack a sense of calm? Now, when you feel this way, it tends to create tension in your life, tension in your home, and it makes you overwhelmed. And it doesn't help your child in any way as they grow, and it doesn't help you in any way. Now, fear often makes most of us as moms react instead of respond. So when you're scared as a mom, instead of you being responsible for a decision or for something, you tend to react. So fear makes you not even plan ahead. Fear makes you not even set the structures. Fear makes you not to be responsible, but fear makes you to react to everything, every situation. And in that point, when you're reactive, you tend to be tensed. Fear creates tension for you as a mom and for your children. That is why we have to step away from being fearful to being the leaders, the bold leaders that God has called us to be. Fear can make you to be overprotective. You overprotect everything about your child. You overprotect that schedule. You overprotect everything. In fact, you start to act the position of God in the life of your child, which you're not supposed to. Fear makes you to be hesitant. You want to make a choice or a decision, and you keep on waiting. Oh, what if it doesn't turn out well? What if it turns out well? It just makes you to be in that stage where you start to feel like you're having analysis paralysis. You want to decide on something, but you're hesitant. But we must learn to step away from our fears, because our fears are not doing us any good. It's not doing our children any good. It's not helping us in any way. And we must step to be those courageous leaders that God has called us to be. So instead of you being fearful as a mom, you need to be that confident woman your child can look up to. Because when you're confident, you create a safe space in your home. You make your children to feel confident, and you make them to feel inspired. Inspired to try, inspired to thrive. And for you to be a leader, you must understand that leadership doesn't mean control as a mom. It doesn't mean you have to control everything about your child's life or about your life. Leadership just means you need to model the right values. You need to model bravery to your child. You need to model emotional strength, the right emotional regulation. How regulated are we with our emotions? Or our emotions all over the place? Do we throw tantrums when our children are acting out? For you to be a leader, you have to be that person that is calm. You make calm decisions. You are calm. You respond to things. You take responsibility for things and not you reacting to things. And leadership isn't about authority. It's not about you imposing yourself on your child and telling your child, don't you know who I am? Don't you know I am your mom? No. Leadership is about influence. When you're able to influence your child, when you're able to influence anyone around you, you're a leader over that person. Most of us have been influenced by great people in the society. Those people did not come and force you. They did not impose themselves on you. They did not say, oh, you must listen to me. But we were influenced by probably one or two things we saw these great people do. That is the same way with you being a leader of yourself and leader in your home. So leadership is about influence. And how do you influence your child? You influence your child by being courageous. You influence your child by being confident as a mom. That is why we have to step away from our fears and come out to be these confident leaders, these masterpieces that God has created us to be. And do you know what? When you step away from your fear, you give your child an opportunity to also step away from their own fears. When you move away from your fears, you give your child an opportunity to move away from their fears. You make your child understand that yes, you can thrive. Yes, you can be bold as a leader. You don't have to remain in this place. Now, your courage doesn't just change you. It doesn't just change your children. You being courageous doesn't just change your household alone, but it transforms the way your children see life. It transforms the way you see life. It transforms the way you address challenges. It transforms the way you see challenges. It transforms the way you see challenges. That is why we must step away from our fears as mom to be these fearless leaders that God has called us to be. So in practical ways, how can we step away from our fears and be these leaders, these masterpieces, these courageous moms that God has called us to be? Number one, we must learn to pause before we react. Now, most of us, we find it difficult to pause, but it's a gradual process. That is why we're learning. But we must get to this point where before we react to anything, pause and ask yourself, why am I reacting? This thing I want to say, is it going to help the situation? Is it going to make the situation any better? Can you learn to take 3 deep breaths? And while you're in that moment, ask yourself, are you leading from the point of fear? Are you trying to show fear with the answer or the response you want to give in this situation? Or are you going to model courage? So to step away from fears, to be this confident leader that God has called us to be, you must first of all learn to pause before you react. Before you react to anything, any situation around you, you must learn to pause. Take deep breath. You can take 3 deep breaths, 4 deep breaths, and ask yourself, if I react, am I going to model courage? Or am I going to model my fear? So we must learn to pause before we react. And the second thing we can do to step away from our fears and be these confident leaders is to model calm courage. Now we must show ourselves and our children what it looks like to face fear calmly. We must show them that yes, this thing is scary. I am scared of it, but I can face it because I've got God. We must teach them how to try something new. We must tell them it is okay to try. It is okay to try something. Even if you fail, it's okay to fail. When you fail, you fail forward. When you fail, you learn from your failure. You learn what to do better next time. You tell them that it is okay to make mistakes. And when you make mistake, as a mom, make mistake with grace and teach your children the lessons. Don't beat yourself all over because you have made a mistake. So we must get to this point where we model calm courage. We are courageous in the face of our fears, in the face of our difficult situations, in the face of mistakes, in the face of failure. You're courageous. You're ready to get up, dust yourself, and continue the journey. When you do that, you're on your way to be that fearless leader that God has called you to be. And the third thing we can do is to set fear-free boundaries. So replace things like don't do that out of fear. Constantly, maybe your child is trying to do something and you say, don't do that. Don't jump. Replace it with guidance. Sorry, excuse me. That encourages growth. Guide your child instead. Then the fourth thing we can do is daily courage practice. So take one small action each day that challenges your fear. Show courage as a mom. Let your child see that this situation is difficult for my parents, but in the midst of it, my parents are modeling courage. What is that difficult conversation you're running away from having with your child? What is that difficult thing you're running away from doing? Show your child you can still be courageous in the midst of your fears. You can still be courageous even when you're uncertain. When you model daily courage practice, you show courage in the little of the things they do. You show courage in the little of the things you do as a mom. When you model it, you're on your way to be that fearless leader that God has called you to be. Now we must understand that fear always whispers, stay small. Fear will always tell you to stay small as a mom, not to grow, not to become better. Fear will tell you don't lead. But courage will tell you to lead with love. So we must step away from our fears and we must embrace this new identity of ours, which was being fearless as leaders, being fearless as moms. Because when we do that, your child is watching. Your children are watching. They are watching to see how confident my mom is, how resilient my mom is, how joyful my mom is, how my mom has embraced this new identity of her being a fearless leader, a masterpiece that God has called her to be. So as moms, we must step away from that place of we constantly being fearful. And we must be these bold leaders that are not afraid to try. Not afraid to make mistakes, not afraid to fail, because we understand that failure is a tool for us to learn. When we fail, we learn how to fail forward. We learn how to fail, get up, dust ourselves, and continue the journey. So thank you very much. I believe this video has been so helpful. Please like this video, share this video. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel, The Renewed Parent Academy. And my name is Chioma Odikolo. I really do appreciate your time, and I do not take your time for granted. Till I come your way next time, do have a great day and bye.